When you're correcting colors or tones in your photographs, the best way to work is to apply adjustment layers rather than to apply direct adjustments. Adjustment layers are preferable because they won't permanently change the pixels in your photographs. Another benefit of adjustment layers is that they remain editable, so you can come back at any time, even after you've saved and closed a file, and tweak the adjustments that you've made. In Photoshop CS4, adjustments have gotten even better, because now there's a separate panel, the Adjustments panel, from which you can apply and manage your adjustment layers. My Adjustments panel is open over here. If yours isn't open, you can open it from the Window menu at the top of the screen. There are two main sections to this panel. In the top portion are icons that represent all of the available adjustment layers. If I click here, I'll apply a brightness contrast adjustment layer. Here, a levels adjustment layer, a curves adjustment layer. Down here is a black and white adjustment layer, a hue saturation adjustment layer, a vibrance adjustment layer, and more. We'll be looking at some of these in detail in other movies. For now, I'd like you to see how the Adjustments panel works and get a sense of the benefits of using adjustment layers. The bottom part of the Adjustments panel consists of presets for each of the kinds of adjustment layers. We'll take a closer look there in a minute, but first let's go ahead and apply an adjustment layer. This photo is a little dark, so I'm going to start with a brightness contrast adjustment layer right here. I'll click that icon, and two things happen. First, the Adjustments panel changes to show me just the controls for the brightness contrast adjustment. And second, down in the Layers panel, you'll see a new brightness contrast adjustment layer. An adjustment layer looks a little different than other kinds of layers. It has this adjustment icon on the left, and it comes with its own layer mask. In another movie, I'll show you how to use that layer mask to control the areas where an adjustment appears and where it's hidden. For now, let's go up to the Adjustments panel, and I'll work with these two sliders. The brightness slider darkens the photo if I pull it to the left, and brightens the photo if I go to the right. I'm going to brighten this photo a bit, and you'll notice that the histogram in the panel above changed when I made that adjustment. I use the histogram panel as a guide. For example, if I go too far with the brightness adjustment, I'll see a spike over here on the right side of the histogram. That'll tell me that I went too far, and I'll back off a little on the adjustment. In the brightness contrast adjustment panel, I also can adjust contrast, lowering contrast by pulling to the left, or increasing contrast by pulling to the right. You can have more than one adjustment layer on an image. So let's go back to the Adjustments panel in its initial state and add another adjustment layer. To do that, I'll click this green arrow at the bottom of the Adjustments panel. That takes me back to the initial view, and from here I'm going to click on another adjustment layer icon, the black and white adjustment icon right here. You can see that the Adjustments panel is now replaced with all the controls for the black and white adjustment. And in the Layers panel, there's a second adjustment layer, a black and white adjustment layer. I'll leave the controls in the black and white adjustment layer at their default for now. As you can see, the image has changed to black and white. I'm going to leave all these controls at their defaults for now. And I'm going to go back in and assume that I'm working elsewhere in my image, making other adjustments and tweaks, and then say that I decide that I don't like the way the black and white adjustment is. I would like to change it a little. At any time, I can come back and just click on that black and white adjustment layer, and my controls come up to the same settings as I left them. At this point, I can change the adjustment however I like. I could move any of these sliders, or I could just come up and click Tint, and that will change the black and white look of the image to a tinted or colorized look. I did that because I want to show you the preview icons at the bottom of the Adjustments panel. If I click this eye icon, I'm taken all the way back to before I applied any black and white adjustments. I'll turn that back on to show you the next icon here. If I click on this icon and hold, I get a preview of the last state of the black and white adjustment. And if I want to return to the last state of this adjustment, I click the next icon, and I go back to before I added the tint. If I want to delete the black and white adjustment completely, I can click this trash can, and I can click Yes in this dialog box, and the black and white adjustment layer disappears from the Layers panel. I'd like to show you one more thing about the Adjustments panel. So I'm going to go back to its initial view by clicking this large green arrow. And I wanted to show you how easy it is to apply an adjustment layer preset. Let's say that I think I need a little more contrast in this image. I can just click on the arrow to the left of Levels Presets, scroll down this list of available presets, and choose the one that I want. I'm going to try Increase Contrast 2. That did increase the contrast in the image. It also opened the Levels controls here in the Adjustments panel, and it added a Levels Adjustment layer in my Layers panel. At this point, I could come up to this menu at the top of the Levels Adjustments panel, and I could choose a different preset. They appear here as well as in the initial Adjustments panel. Or I could leave things as they are, or I could tweak these adjustments as necessary. I'm going to leave them as they are for now, and recommend again that when you need to adjust your photographs, you turn to adjustment layers rather than direct adjustments. When you use adjustment layers, you can feel confident that you're preserving your original image and that you can come back at any time and tweak or even delete your adjustment.